of shopping. That's what Jerry Clough is going to do. So he's all obsessed about shops and that kind of thing, especially the street map. So he's actually come to shopping caravans in Estonia, trying to figure out something else, or something that he can find his way of creating these kinds of
Well, lastly, thank you very much.
Sure, yeah.
My first digression is to say how pleased I am to be here, because I discovered that this is the home, as it were, of Karl Ernst de Baer, and I am, by original training, I am an embryologist, and he introduced many of the most important concepts and terms in embryology. So this is the sort of holy ground to me from my academic background. As Hank said, if I'm not clear or speaking too quickly, please don't hesitate to shout, and I'll try and slow down a bit. In the past few months, I've become rather obsessed by shops, to the extent in the last few days in Riga and Tallinn, I have taken a lot more photographs of shopping malls and retail plazas and so on, and relatively few old Hanseatic houses. This has been a somewhat Damascene conversion. And because historically I have not mapped many shop types in OSM. I mean, there were perhaps three reasons. One is I thought that shops change too much, and it's hugely difficult to be consistent so that you map shop types in a consistent way. I also had one experience a couple of years ago in London, mapping Floral Street by Covent Garden before a London pub meeting, and I discovered it was really, really tedious. 2 hours wandering up 200 metres of street. But I think the most important danger about mapping shops is what I call YACID or YACID, yet another chat internet directory. And this is an example, a rather poor screenshot of a pub in Nottingham, the town I'm going to talk about mapping shops. Now you can see there are hundreds of entries in directories for this pub. In the background, you see what is actually there. The pub was demolished 4 years ago, it was closed 6 years ago, and you can find vast quantities of information about it. Just don't try and go and have a drink there. And just a little bit of detail about why I think Nottingham's a useful exemplar for looking at retail generally in RSM. It's the 8th largest retail centre in the United Kingdom. Although the city itself has a population of around 300,000, the urban area has nearer 650,000 people. It therefore represents roughly 1% of the total UK, or in another sense, 0.01% of the world population. But in size, it's comparable to places like Riga and Tallinn and many other regional shopping centres throughout Europe. Possibly the US, but I think the US is. But it has one particular characteristic which is useful. It's small enough to get around and map comprehensively, and big enough that one is going to encounter most kinds of shops and other retail outlets. I'd already started tracking down shops earlier this year, mainly because I was interested in collecting much better high quality address information, directly related to what Maxim has just talked about. And then, in my Twitter stream, I came across this map. This is from an article in Directions magazine earlier this year. Perhaps if it had been anywhere else than Nottingham, I would just regard it as something of interest. As it was, I saw it immediately as a challenge. This is retail data produced by a professional specialist retail GIS company in the UK. And for a city like Nottingham, they charge something like £3,000 to £4,000 a year to access this data. So there were three things, or the three principal things to notice. We have retail polygons, pretty much as we would have in OSM, land use equals retail. Nothing we can't do there. Here we have something called retail pitch, which I think equates to footfall, the number of customers passing through each location at a constant time period. Now, that could be a very interesting crowdsourcing issue, but not one I think that we want to try doing in the near future. We've got plenty of other things which we really need to map. So ignore that. What I found really interesting was this categorization of all the retail, the different kinds of retail places. So you have a place like this, which is a retail park, what the Americans call a strip mall. You have local shops grouped along a road. You have specific small buildings with a small number of shops, 6 or 7 shops in one location, which is called a parade. And so we have a huge range of different retail categories for what we lump together as land use retail. And we don't have, I'm not aware of anyone trying to discriminate land use retail in any detail in OpenStreetMap. So that not only was it a challenge to see could we start to replicate this, but could we also learn about how to refine that categorization. I would call that retail segmentation. Obviously, for some people of interest, it is of interest because they pay a lot of money for this. So I had a simple goal once I saw this data, was to collect as much information about retail areas and the shops within them, within the city boundaries of Nottingham. And that was helped by one particular thing, which is that the local council has been releasing very large numbers of open data sets. And 2 of those data sets are particularly useful because they transform the way that I could plan how to do surveys. I could use the open data to drive where I survey rather than having to be very systematic in one small location. The first of these data sets is a list of licensed premises. So that includes pubs, but it also includes places where live music can be performed, and even things like boxing and wrestling. And that has about 1,200 entries. The second data set is the one that I show here, is food hygiene inspections. Every retail outlet, pub, restaurant, bar, food shop, sweet shop, pharmacy, must be inspected by the local council on a regular basis to ensure that the food is safe. And all of this is, all these inspection information and the addresses of the premises are available as open data. So there's something like 2,500 of these data points. This also includes things like hospitals and schools and so on. So they contain complete address information, and most particularly useful for us is they contain the postcode. Now the postcode in the UK, if you're not familiar with it, locates a very small number of buildings, typically at most 40. And the postcode centroids are available as open geodata although there were some licensing issues with this in the past. Experience tells me that this food hygiene data covers about 50% or more of all retail outlets. So it's a great data set to go and chase down shops, basically. And usually, shops and retail outlets which don't do food are right next door to ones which do. So these dots on the map pretty much represent every single location where there might be shops in the city. And the blobs indicate how many there are. There are one or two weird ones. Appropriately, this one is Nottingham University campus. And this is the exception to the postcode rule because this one postcode covers a university campus which has 20,000 students on it. So these are the cafes in every student hostel and each department building, plus the Mensa or so in complete difference from this corner shows how I used to map. I would spend several hours walking up and down all the streets and collecting addresses and stuff. And it's very tiring. And this is what I've done for collecting shops. It's much more spotty. I stay in one place for 10 minutes, map just the information I want. I don't try and be completist. I don't try and get every piece of information I could at that location. But I am trying to be comprehensive about shops, which means visiting every part of the city. It's totally driven by the external open data. So from the postcodes, I just had a list of waypoints on my GPS, and each time I visited a waypoint, I delete it, and I just keep going until I have no more waypoints. I've got one or two. I think there's somewhere down here I haven't been yet. And I focus on limiting mapping targets. And I compare these two. This I call, by comparison with farming, this is intensive farming. Lots of inputs for high productivity in a small area. This is much more extensive. There are other benefits of being extensive is that I've visited areas of the city which have only been mapped by aerial photographs in the past. So actually, I think the end result is going to be a huge improvement in the overall mapping. Because I already have address data and some geolocation stuff, and because we have good aerial photographs, I have focused totally on using photos, doing photo mapping. I've got a photograph of things, I can already get the address information, and I can then interpolate addresses between two places which I already have addresses. So I worry about collecting photographs, particularly of the building lines, so I can count the number of chimneys and steps and line. And I take photographs of the detail of the shop front, hopefully to capture things like contact information, open hours. But this really does require good quality aerial imagery. It takes much longer to actually add the data to OpenStreetMap and to collect it. So typically I add nodes in roughly the location, then I start going and build building outlines, I refine the node locations, and then at a later stage I start adding shops as areas, or if the shop occupies the whole building, I will put the shop information, the tags onto the building itself. And then there's a whole set of refinement with adding sort of ancillary data, which perhaps doesn't really belong in OpenStreetMap. Things like the contact and opening hours, which I think are really the most problematical area for this crap directory. So this shows the city centre with tiles from OpenStreetMap France, because they support many more retail types. So they have shoe shops and so on. One note, this area here is the town hall, and the addresses of this particular shop just here, neither the post office, nor the company which owns the shop, nor the Ordnance Survey, nor the council actually agree on what the address of that shop is. So, you find that even the most official address information is unreliable. One thing I would say is with the open data, with the licensed premises data, about 7% of the data was completely wrong. Usually it's time expired, like the pub I showed. The food hygiene is rather better, but even so, it's perhaps 2 to 3%. So with open data from local government sources, it's much better to use it as a driver for survey than to just blandly import it and assume it's as good as, it's better than we can do, exactly we can do better. This is just a small local parade in an outlying part of town. I still have to do some work on the building outlines, but here everything is being mapped to areas. And this is a typical parade. So I'd like to finish by talking about what I see as the issues which arise from this. And there are two which I'll change. We all know that mapping change and handling change in OSM is difficult. So I won't really say very much about that. Except we really need a lot of tools to help support us. Inconsistency. If we look at shops like Games Workshop, which I thought the core membership of OSM, geeky men under 40, really ought to know about. Surely they all played Warhammer World when they were kids. But there are something like 25 of these shops mapped worldwide, and some are mapped shop equals toys, some are shop equals games, some are shop equals hobby. And it gets even worse if you look at a chain like Claire's Accessories. I don't know if you have this in Baltic states, but I think it's an American chain. There's another one called Accessorize. They sell costume jewellery, typically to young women, teenage girls, and women in their 20s or 30s. And the tags for those are just all over the place. And I think you get the same experience. You take a particular chain, and they're hugely inconsistent in how we describe exactly the same thing. There are two other, the other problems are the extremes, i.e. the big shops, malls, and little shops, kiosks and stores. And I'll just go on to these. The problem is we use shop equals mall, which is aesthetically not very pleasing. It's American English for a start. And they're not shops. They're retail places. But the biggest problem is they cover just too wide a range of things. This is an arcade with expensive shops in the middle of Nottingham. This is a huge out-of-town retail centre called Meadow Hall in Sheffield. And both of these are shop equals mall. At the other extreme, you can have a little dingy passage with little shops selling nothing except old vinyl records. So I'd love it if we could discriminate between these more. I mean, just walking from the bus station to the Town Hall Square yesterday, I noticed there are at least 3 or 4 examples of different kinds, just in Tartu, of things which shop equals mall. So I'd love to get other people's ideas on it. And the other thing is they're hugely difficult to map because in Britain at any rate, you're not allowed to take photographs of them. So I have to wander around, 1, 2, 3, counting by paces between shops. They have many levels, which we don't handle very well. And I'm trying to do some kind of crude but restricted indoor mapping. This is an example of a shopping mall in Maidenhead, where the main ground floor level is mapped as a pedestrian way, and the big parts of the building are mapped as building park, which is something I hadn't come across until recently. And then the individual shops are just mapped as an area with shop equals without any attempt to do elaborate indoor mapping. So, my other bugbear is kiosk. We're in the land of the kiosk, but shop equals kiosk is actually synonymous with shop equals newsagent. And this is a kiosk, what I would call a kiosk in Vladivostok from Open Street View. I think it's selling some kind of burgers, but Vladivostok seems to be full of little retail outlets which sell through a hatch. And this is a lottery sales kiosk in Cáceres in Spain, run by the Spanish charity Clough. This is one in Greece. And here we have another lottery kiosk, and we also have this sort of mobile retail outlet. Again, we don't handle it very well. Lastly, we have the long tail. I would have loved to do this, and I'm going to say the word wrongly. There's a Merimeko plot. Fins. This is the Finnish word for a patchwork quilt. Someone can tell me how I should say it. Merimeko. It's a wonderful plot way of plotting, but here I have Nottingham, the UK, Ireland, Germany, but there is some fault in the data, and then countries which are local here. These are all places which have reasonable tag info things where I can collect this data. But the key thing to notice is, now that I've got a complete, pretty much 95% shot complete for Nottingham, is the tail just gets longer and longer the more detail you go into. And we need some way of, I think we've got something like 200 different shop tags just in Nottingham for 1,600 shops. So I think we need to find some way in which we have a higher level classification for shops. I don't think we need to necessarily use it at the tag level, but we certainly need to introduce something at the tool level. And this is just one that I'm using myself, just as, and it needs a lot of refinement. But we know that segmentation of retail shops has been going on for a long time. Guilds did it. Medieval guilds did it. And there's a huge volume of information by the retailers themselves. So I'll skip over this because this is a very complicated thing about trying to identify retail clusters in Germany. And this just shows the final end result. This is the city of Nottingham with retail areas. This is the city centre with all the shops classified according to the segmentation I suggested. And that's the centre expanded slightly. And this is the original thing I wanted to copy. So, run out of time, so I'd like to finish there. But I think the most important thing is, to an extent, we want to get away in OpenStreetMap from the holy trinity of rendering, routing, and search, and think about how we use OpenStreetMap for analytical applications, such as retail planning, because you discover a whole new set of problems if you move away from our traditional strengths. Okay.
I think we'll just go on over to the other, and you'll be here today and tomorrow, so if you have any questions, during lunch, next up is Vladimir. Oh, by the way, it's always great to see you here at SotM involvement in OpenStreetMap, going from streets and that kind of thing now to all different applications.